Evolution, a deliberate yet subliminal process for all but humankind. We cannot wait.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
He's on the move. That's cool.
Hello and welcome to the program. In this edition, we take to the skies with the scientists who first realized all wasn't well with our fragile blue planet and proved that ozone, vital to Earth's survival, was disappearing at an alarming rate. We tackle a deadly insect infestation called phylloxera with NASA's latest remote sensing infrared imaging techniques in the hopes of saving a $6 billion wine industry from collapse. And we show you some of the latest gadgetry, a plant stroking machine that could revolutionize greenhouse growing. Two students are hoping to end this practice with this. What about a shoelace for those of us who are always running late? And NASA's prosthetics project, developing simple, economical alternatives from robots technology that meet the demands of individual lifestyles. And something was creating quite a stir in London recently. Every 5 years, in fact, the same thing happens. The historic clock faces of Big Ben are attacked by a team of abseilers who go about its regular cleaning. Those stories and more coming right up. But our first story today is about the seeds of history. Botanical seeds, that is. Over 200 varieties of Lebanese seeds harvested by botanists have been added to Britain's Millennium Seed Bank. They'll join thousands of rare specimens already frozen in a vast underground bunker. All the seeds collected in Lebanon are sorted and sifted at the Millennium Seed Bank. They're left to dry out in special rooms before being separated and checked for quality. The sorting process is thorough, and once it's complete, the seeds will be frozen. This latest Lebanese batch includes a rare iris. Finding the iris was a difficult task. The researchers had to rely on the local people to help in their quest for the flower. Having now pinpointed the right spot to find the rare plant, botanists hope to return at the right time next year to harvest a much bigger crop. The iris adds to the seed bank's collection of 1,400 specimens. It's something they believe is vital for future generations. This material is kept alive under the specific conditions of a seed bank for the benefit of mankind. Meanwhile, work is continuing to meet their target of collecting and preserving 10% of the world's seeds by 2010. Here on these shelves lies an abundance of history. It wasn't until the 1960s, when Apollo missions were bound for the moon, that we were first able to see complete pictures of the Earth. Environmentalists began to look at our planet as a single, fragile ecosystem. Now we are intensely studying the thin halo of atmosphere that surrounds and protects the Earth. It recycles the air that we breathe, regulates climate, and acts as a protective barrier, filtering out much of the sun's harmful radiation. Several years ago, an international group of scientists proved that ozone, the key element in this filtering process, was being lost at an alarming rate over the South Pole. In fact, a sizable hole develops over this area each winter. Without ozone, the sun's harmful radiation could destroy life on Earth. A group of man-made compounds called chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, used as refrigerants, cleaning solvents and some plastic foams were to blame for this environmental disaster. They eventually made their way into the atmosphere and began to destroy the ozone that surrounds the globe. Using the beautiful seaport town of Stavanger, Norway, as a base of operations, an international team of scientists were assembled in an emergency effort to make a detailed study of the North Pole. Most of the work was performed aboard 2 NASA aircraft. This is the ER-2. For the mission, special wing pods were attached containing atmospheric chemistry analysis equipment and a host of other instruments. Flights were made about 12 miles up along the fringes of space and right into the layers of atmosphere directly affected by ozone loss. The ER-2's research partner was a modified DC-8. It flew at lower altitudes but had increased fuel reserves which allowed it to cover more territory, even flying directly over the North Pole. Inside the DC-8, there was a complete scientific observatory loaded with sensing instruments. Scientists performed their experiments and were able to map results right on the spot. This instrument contains 4 lasers capable of shooting light many miles up into the atmosphere. The light reflects back to the plane and provides scientists with a cross-sectional map of ozone concentrations as well as aerosols, or regions where ozone depletion is capable of occurring. Initial results from both aircraft indicated that high concentrations of CFCs had been found at northern latitudes, prime for ozone destruction. When combined with high-altitude ice clouds, the right amount of sunlight and confined, slow-moving masses of air, ozone destruction occurs. As a result of this airborne mission, scientists were able to confirm the process and predict areas of depletion. International policymakers have since met in the hopes of limiting the amount of CFC production and agreed to phase out its use completely. Many scientists are still concerned that it wasn't done soon enough. Researching safe, economic replacements for CFCs is a vital part of solving this serious environmental issue. Thanks to the intensive work done in the last few years, we know why ozone depletion exists. It's now up to the international community to take responsibility for the future of our global environment.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Napa Valley, home to America's most prestigious wine growers. Vineyards here produce the fine Chardonnays, Pinot Noirs and Cabernet Sauvignons that help put the Californian wine industry on the international map. But lurking beneath the surface of these green fields are tiny parasites called Phylloxera that threaten the very roots of the $6 billion industry. As Phylloxera feeds, fungus and bacteria enters and eventually kills the plant. Infrared aerial photography taken over a 5-year period reveals Phylloxera's devastating effects. Dead areas show up grey. Images like these help farmers see current damage, but it doesn't provide enough information for future planning. Growers need better tools. NASA's remote sensing technology is such a tool. It detects for the presence of stress in the plants before the growers are ever likely to see it themselves. And that offers them a glimpse into the future. The Robert Mondavi Winery was interested in trying this new technology, in looking up to the sky, beyond the horizon and into space. NASA's scientists at the nearby Ames Research Center have been developing remote sensing technology to study the Earth's surface using aircraft and satellites. And for years, NASA has been adapting its remote sensing for more commercial uses. NASA's Joan Salute heads the GRAPES project, Her team includes participants from Ames, Mondaby Winery, and several of California's leading universities. NASA contacted 4 different wineries in the area and explained the project they were planning. Mondaby was the one who put their hands up and said, "We want to do the same thing." An 11-acre test site was blocked into sections with healthy, moderate, and severely infested vines. Handheld instruments were then used to measure chlorophyll levels, which is a barometer of the plant's health. Leaves were taken to the lab at Ames for scientists to conduct both a spectral analysis and chemical analysis to see how the leaves differ. Field and laboratory data provides a baseline for each level of infestation. Scientists estimate chlorophyll levels and use an airborne scanner to gather information on thousands of plants. Like infrared photos, the resulting images indicate where the vines were dying. But these images can also warn growers of where the bugs are just beginning their attack. In this instance, the phylloxera pattern seems to be going in a north-south direction. Monitoring the insect infestation is one thing. Doing something about it is another. There are still no chemical agents that will prevent the spread of phylloxera, but fortunately, nurseries are growing roots which are resistant to the tiny bugs. Many popular grape plants like Chardonnay or Pinot Noir would easily fall prey to the underground pests if they were grown on their own roots. Wine growers get around this problem by having nurseries graft or splice resistant stocks to the fruit-bearing portion of the plant. Mondaby Winery decided to remove the affected vines and replant new ones with healthy and resilient roots in their place. Rather than just having the feeling that the infestation was spreading, the growers were able to pinpoint the size and direction of any further destruction. However, in hindsight, the decision to uproot half the field and not 3/4 of it was ultimately a mistake, as part of what was left was found to be useless. Had they ripped out more of the field and replanted sooner, they would have had a full crop harvested sooner as well. On the other hand, thanks to modern technology, at least there's still an industry worth speaking of.
Very good. You want some, Margaret?
On November the 7th, 2001, a new prototype pedal-powered washing machine that has the potential to ease the burden for those who hand-wash clothes in third-world countries was unveiled by 2 mechanical engineering students in Melbourne, Australia. Both Mr. Che and Mr. Tu are Singaporean students who are demonstrating the prototype of their machine before leaving Australia to return home for their holidays. They plan to talk to some of the communities about their needs to make sure it's appropriate and then manufacture it. Designed to contribute to global sustainability, the machine uses cheap but durable materials and can be manufactured for as little as $60 Australian. And a horticultural college in southern England has created a plant stroking machine aimed at strengthening greenhouse plants and crops. Bedding plants are big business in Britain. This greenhouse at Hadlow Horticultural College in Kent is the biggest greenhouse in Europe. It's here that horticultural scientists have designed a stroking machine for young plants. The idea is that the machine, made from plastic strips and a magnetic motor, replaces the natural breezes not felt in the still air of greenhouses. They've been stroking fuchsias up to 10 times a day, and the stems have grown up to 30% thicker and stronger after only 3 weeks of brushing. The idea of replicating natural wind movement can also be applied to young greenhouse crops like tomatoes. The stroker's already attracting interest from commercial enterprises in the United States. And London's Earl's Court plays host to some of the world's wackiest inventions and their creators. Innovate 2001 is the highlight of the inventors' calendar. The focus is very much on turning good ideas into viable businesses. A staggering 200 new inventions were being showcased at the 2001 show. They range from high-tech racing cars to shock-absorbent rollerblades. The exhibition is designed to inspire, facilitate and promote collaborative projects between creators, investors and manufacturers. There are all sorts of inventions, some of them wacky and some very practical applications, such as this quick-tie shoelace for children in a hurry. There are more sophisticated contrivances such as this magnetic gearing and coupling contraption. But one young up-and-coming British inventor is Damini Kumar. She's the inventor of the world's first non-drip tea spout. Several UK retailers have expressed an interest, but Damini has yet to make a deal with a suitable manufacturer. A deadly haul. Just some of the 700 guns seized in London in a 15-month period. Gun crime in the capital has increased 11% in 1 year. And some of the most lethal weapons are in use. With gun crime on the rise, police say they need a swift and effective means to dispose of the lethal weapons they take out of circulation. Sir John Stevens, London's police chief, holds up a Model 15 Magnum, the gun used in the Dirty Harry films. A very powerful gun indeed. A lethal Israeli-made Uzi submachine gun is rendered useless. Lock, stock and barrel. Operation Trident, which targets shootings within the black community, has netted some of this haul. Overall, police say they're seizing an average of 50 guns a month in London. Their new machine will ensure none of these weapons make it back onto the street.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Meet Amy Bradley, greeter at a department store outside Huntsville, Alabama. 14 years previously, Amy lost her left hand in a car accident. Today, her job's a little easier thanks to a simple but unique device devised from NASA robotics technology. After her accident, Amy was fitted with a standard prosthetics hook, as it's commonly called. But she found its strap suspension system cumbersome, and moving her right shoulder to operate the device was painful. And she couldn't do all she needed to do with something that simply opened and closed. The new device is attached to a socket which slides on easily. She works with this spatula-like attachment around the kitchen. And she's come up with a number of other applications for the clip she uses at work. It was this man, Jim Carden, who got NASA started on this project. An engineer at NASA for 30 years, Jim lost his left hand in his small lumber business shortly before he retired. Jim talked to some of his co-workers at NASA. Borrowing from robotics technology, they came up with a number of devices. Though simple, this bell-shaped attachment is one of Jim's favorites. It lets him crank his fishing reel, something he just couldn't do with the hook. And the project has also produced this heavy lift design which Jim uses around his ranch and lumber business. The people at NASA then worked on a lightweight alternative to the standard hook for small tasks around the house. Rather than the bulky shoulder harness, it's triggered by the rotation of the forearm. The simplicity of all these devices not only makes them easy to use, but inexpensive to produce. Together with a rehabilitation facility, NASA made plans to market the products. NASA's Prosthetics Project, developing simple, economical alternatives from robotics technology that meet the demands of individual lifestyles. Specialist cleaners prepared to scale London's most famous face and dangle 350 feet above Parliament Square to give Big Ben its 5-yearly scrub-up. Visitors to the House of Parliament had something else to catch their interest as the rope technicians delicately descended St Stephen's Tower to start work on cleaning and inspecting the 4 white glass clock faces. The glass is old and only 4 millimeters thick, so it's a very delicate task. The cleaners will also check the surface glazing for signs of frost and bird damage. It takes about a week to finish the job. The specialist cleaners have a varied lifestyle. They work on oil rigs, which is more dangerous because of the waves and the wind, so to them it's quite a routine job. However, if they put their foot through the glass or if they rest on the hand, the clock will stop, and that will cause some serious problems to the people who rely on the clock's accuracy. The largest turret clock in Britain, Big Ben, was built around 1856 and has always kept good time. But to stop it would mean a week-long wait for engineers to restart the old timer before Britons could check their watches against it again. Meanwhile, it's all spruced up for its photographs. It's not only looking good, it sounds fabulous too. Although maybe not to the guys who are hanging around its faces.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
On the move.